Hey Scotty, did something materialize in the mail today? Oh my god, that's awesome! Let's unbox it! Hello everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today Scotty and I are back at it with our unboxings. It's been a while, giving us sickness as well. I was sick for 2 weeks with COVID, so that was fun. And work schedule and all that permitting, we are finally here to, review the Doctor Who decks. Thank you very much, Scotty, for that intro. Now, today is also Halloween. Yes, we are recording this on Halloween, as can be seen by our decorations. I thought I would give it a spoopy kind of style to this video. But yeah, we're finally diving into the Commander decks. And if for anybody that is new to our reviews, what we do in this is we look at every single card, we read every single card out, and then we give you an idea of how well the precon is built, because we go by the main commander and then we see every single card slot and compare it to see if it's truly in theme and if it's truly synergetic with the commander, and to see how well overall it performs. And then at the end of the video, what we do is actually we score it out of 10 to give you an indication of how good of a precon this is. So without further ado, this is Doctor Who's Timey-Wimey Deck. So this is gonna be really cool. It says here that contains Doctor 9, 10, and 11. The 10th one being the commander of our wonderful precon deck. This is a Jeskai deck, so it's blue, red, and white. So without further ado, let's dive into this. Now, this product has been made in the United States and the die is manufactured in China. We usually look at this because sometimes the United States products tend to be more bendy, wavy, and crispy. Okay, let's see what's inside of this wonderful deck. It's 100 card deck with 50 new cards, which is really good because in the previous expansions, you had basically, I think around between 10 new cards, maximum 20 cards. So it's really good to see 50 new cards. That's really great. 10 PLANECHASE cards, which are also new. 10 double-sided token cards, a planner die. Then you get the full edge display commander, a life wheel, the deck box, the strategy insert, and a reference card. And our commander today is the 10th Doctor. So for those that have followed Doctor Who, this is a very iconic Doctor. And overall, I'm going to be really interested in seeing his abilities. So let's dive into them. The 10th Doctor costs, it does not have all the Jeskai colors. That's because the companion, which is going to be inside of the deck, is going to be the white. And that's how you can use the 3 Jeskai colors. And it's a legendary creature, of course. It's a Time Lord Doctor. So whenever in these cards you'll see a Doctor reference, it's always the creature has to be a Time Lord Doctor to be able to reference it. It's a 3/5 and it has a couple of abilities. The first one is Analyse, and this says whenever you attack, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card, you put 3 times counter on it. If you doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. Basically, you cheat into play cards and from the permanents basically that are not lands from the top of your deck with 3 suspend counters, and then you get Timey-Wimey, which is 7 generic. You get to time travel 3 times, and you only activate this as a sorcery. And this says that for each suspend card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter on it, you may add or remove a time counter, and when you do it, you can do it 2 more times because that's the 3 times. Okay, so that's our commander. Let's break into the deck. Usually it's better to open these decks from the bottom, and I apologize if I sound a little bit rusty. It has been a while since the last unboxing, so it's gonna be interesting to see. So the deck opens up as such, you can see here, and I will pull it out the content. Voila. So we have here, what do we have here? Oh yeah, okay. I completely forgot to check that these decks also have a collector booster sample pack. Don't know where we would have said that though. Oh well, anyway, it's good to see what's in here. I guess this is the first thing that we'll open. Then we get the PLANECHASE cards. It's gonna be interesting. We're going to have a look at them as well. And then we turn it around, you get the box. That's looks like it's a library of some sort. And there you go. And then you get a couple of counters that you can remove. And That's it. Let's see. There you go. That's all the contents done and dusted. So you get the PLANECHASE or planar die color. It's like a black greenish with glitter. Not bad. I'm not a huge fan of PLANECHASE because of some of the decks that I play. They don't really interact with them too much, but it can be a fun thing otherwise. Then you get the spin down counter. Really, really nice. And of course you get the deck proper. Here all the things are in one package, something they started doing recently because they used to have a separate package for tokens and the foil cards. And before we dive into this, let's have a look at the collector booster sample pack. So let's see what do we get here in this beautiful sample pack. Of course we will be unboxing on the channel a collector booster box, so stay tuned for that. It will be the other hands not Scotty and I doing that because I will be away, but let's see. So we get Me the Immortal in the extended art. So Me the Immortal is a human rogue legendary creature, a 3/3 that costs 5 to generic and teamer, and it has at the beginning of your combat on your turn, you can put a choice of a +1/+1 first strike, vigilance, or menace counter on the Immortal. That's awesome. And then the counters remain on me as it moves to any zone other than the player's hand or library. Wow, that's really, really good. So if it dies or if you use it as a commander, it keeps all the tokens. Effectively, this is a beast, and then you may cast Me from your graveyard by discarding 2 cards in addition to playing its other cost. That's very nice. You could definitely use a reanimate deck with this. And with the Agatha Soul Cauldron as well, you can do some nasty stuff with this one. So that's really nice. And then we have a foil extended called Flaming Tyrannosaurus. Of course, there's a Flaming Tyrannosaurus. Now, a little bit of a premise. I'm not very knowledgeable about Doctor Who. I have seen a couple of episodes. I know the gist of the show, and if I remember correctly, when I was 17, I was down in Cardiff and there was the Museum of Doctor Who. But other than that, don't quote me on it. So I know just enough. So apparently there's a Flaming Tyrannosaurus in the middle of what looks like older London. Anyway, this is a 5/5 creature that costs 7. It's red, has menace. Oh, nice. And paradox. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Flaming Tyrannosaurus deals 3 damage to any target, then put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Wow. And when it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Not bad, actually. This would actually synergize with the Tense Doctor ability because you don't play it out of your hand. So that's really cool. Really nice creatures. All right. And then we have a look first off at the insert. I really like these inserts. They are a little bit of fluff about the deck, and you can pause at any point that should you wish to read it. And then the front is here, and then you learn a little bit more about the commander and the general, the Rose Tyler and the 10th Doctor. There you go. And a little bit about the colors. Always a little wonderful thing. And next up, we'll have a look at the PLANECHASE cards. And do remember that there are sleeves out there for these. Definitely there are sleeves. It's just annoying to try and find them. So if you are trying to find them, just make sure the sizing is correct. Anyway, let's go up and we have the Lux Foundation Library. This is a plane, the library. Oh, this is probably the library where the border of this is, the little deck box is. Looks like it. And players have no maximum hand size, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. That's very nice. And whenever chaos ensues, you put a shadow counter on target creature. And a creature with shadow cannot block or be blocked by any creatures other than the ones that have shadow. So that's really nice. And that's actually going to be very synergistic with one of the abilities, the first ability of the Doctor, but we'll get to that in a second. Then we have Lake Silencio. This is a plane on Earth. Okay, that's good. Still point in time. All spells have split second. Wow, that's sane. Meaning that as long as the spell with split second is on the stack, players cannot cast spells or activate abilities that are mana abilities. And then whenever chaos ensues, this plane deals 6 damage to target creature an opponent controls. If a creature dealt damage this way would die, you exile it instead. Amy's home. Oh, of course, the plane of Earth. And I must say, as usual, the art on these is just gorgeous. So here we have Amy's Home. When you planeswalk to Amy's Home at the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile a non-land card from your hand, okay, with a number of time counters on it equal to its mana value. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. It's a bit annoying because the Doctor's ability is better, but it's not bad. Allows you at the beginning of your upkeep and when this comes into play, so that's not bad. And then whenever Chaos ensues, you get the time travel, which is the ability to remove or add time counter. Now we have Ood Sphere from the plane of Horsehead Nebula, Song of the Ood. Non-creature spells have Convoke, very nice. And for each creature they tap while casting a non-creature spell, you pay one generic or one of the mana colors that creature is, and then you get red as Chaos ensues. For each opponent, go up to one target creature that opponent controls. Until the end of turn, those creatures can become tapped unless they're being declared as attackers. So that's very, very interesting. And then we have Human Time Lord Meta Crisis Phenomenon. And when you encounter this card, each player chooses one or two creatures they control. Each player creates a token that's a copy of the first creature they chose, except that it is in legendary. That's not bad. You have a tracker, that's annoying. And then each player who chose a second creature puts a number of +1/+1 counter on that token equal to the power of the second creatures they chose. Okay, not bad. Bad Wolf Bay, Plane of Earth. At the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to one target creature, return it onto the battlefield on its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So you basically phase out. It's just next end step. And whenever chaos ensues, cards can't enter the battlefield from exile this turn. Oh, okay, cool. All right. And then we get Two Stream Facility. Whenever you planeswalk to Two Streams Facility at the beginning of the first upkeep of the game, each player chooses Green Anchor or Red Waterfall. Each player who last chose Green Anchor may play an additional land during each of their turns. So the one that last chose it, okay? And then creatures controlled by the player who last chose Red Waterfall get +2/+0 and have haste. This is a very interesting one. And then whenever chaos ensues, each player last chose Green Anchor chooses Red and Waterfall and vice versa. Okay, so that's interesting. Then we get the Prime Minister's Cabinet Room on planet Earth. At the beginning of combat, your turn, up to one target creature you control becomes a copy of target creature an opponent controls. Not bad. And then Will of the Council, whenever chaos ensues, starting with you, each player votes for a creature you do not control. Exile each creature from the game with the most votes tied for most votes. Okay. And then we get New York in the future. At the beginning of combat on your turn until the end of turn, non-creature artifacts you control become 3/3 vehicles in addition to their other types and gain flying, haste, and crew 1. Not bad, okay. And then whenever you chaos ensues, you create a treasure token and a 2/2 white alien creature token. So you get to create tokens and activate your mana rocks and artifacts into creatures crewable. Okay, then we get Pompeii from Italy. Plane Earth, when you planeswalk to Pompeii and at the beginning of your upkeep, you put an eruption counter on it, okay? Whenever you roll a blank planar die, you scry 2, then you put an eruption counter on Pompeii. Whenever chaos ensues, Pompeii deals combat damage to each creature, each player equal to the number of eruption counter on Pompeii. Each player sacrifices a land, then planeswalk. So you don't want to stay in Pompeii too much. I must say, I really enjoy this so far. The planes are just amazing. Beautiful art, beautiful theme. I wish I knew a bit more about the episodes to be able to fill you in more. Unfortunately, not as such a huge fan of Doctor Who, but yeah, they look really fun. So next up, we'll have a look at the deck proper. And first, let's have a look again at our commander a little bit more in depth. So when we're looking at the commander, it's not an easy cast. It's a 5, so it takes a while, but let's have a look at the first ability. So it's a 2-parter. First off, you need to have creatures. So I want synergizing with creature that can attack his turn because you want to do that, and you want to do that reliably. So you'll want shadow creatures like in one of those planes, and you'll want first strikers. You want to be able to land walk or whatever, or just in a way keep your creatures attacking each turn. Second part is you get to basically cheat into play much quicker, only with 3 time counters, any card that is a permanent and a non-land. What this means is that realistically you can cheat reanimator targets kind of cards into play and permanents of that type, which is insanely good. So you will want big badass crazy creatures, you want big badass artifacts, you want amazing stuff that you can cheat into play with those 3 turns. So that's the other composition that I would expect of this deck. And the other one is Timey-Wimey, which costs 7 generic. And because of the cost of the commander, which is 5, and also added this on top, you want a lot of ramp. Now, the only way that you can get ramp relatively quickly in these color combinations, which is Jeskai, is if you have a lot of tokens or mana rocks. So I would hope and expect that there are ways to ramp in here, because this is the second part that you want to do, which is cheating to play even quicker your well, suspended cards. But you can also, I would reckon there are cards here that you can keep into play for longer by adding more time counters. So that's the great part of it. So that's our commander. Now let's have a look at Rose Tyler, who is our general of the deck, and it's a Doctor's Companion. Therefore, that's the Jeskai ability of the deck, the color combination. Now, this is a legendary creature. Of course, human is a 2/2 for 2, already great. And then Rose Tyler gets +1/+1 for each time counter on it. That's amazing. Also, I would like to point out, I just noticed the foiling on this is just beautiful. So for each time counter on it, you get to put a +1/+1. That's really, really good. And then whenever it attacks, you put a 10 counter on it for each suspended card you own and each other permanent you control with a 10 counter on it. Wow. So that really, really is a good synergy with the 10th Doctor. You absolutely want to get this first into play. Keep attacking and try to build up those 10 counters. Keep this creature alive as long as possible. And then once you start cheating into play artifacts, cheating into play big creatures, this grows exponentially. So definitely a great entrance. So let's start off with the actually, let's have a look at the tokens. This is something you usually do. Of course, you have the chunky 10th Doctor. Oh, it feels a little different. It's I don't know how to explain it. It feels a little thinner and less papery, more plasticky. We have some tokens here. So we have 2 soldier tokens, and of course all the cards in this deck are themed with Doctor Who. So we got 2 soldier tokens: human, clue, food, alien. Oh my god, they are so cute. Then we get dinosaur, of course, copy, which makes its way again here, and then we get more soldiers, more aliens, more copies, more dinosaurs. Oh, human noble. Okay. With vanishing 3, prevent all damage that will be dealt to this creature. Oh, okay, so there's going to be a card that creates this. So again, something that you want to keep in play. Treasure. This is a beautiful random treasure. A horse, of course. 2/2, and doctors you control have horsemanship. Wow, that's really, really good. Allowing you for your doctor to then become, and any other doctor of the 3, to become a pump for the first ability. That's good. And then a dinosaur. Great. And then you get your usual strategy insert, rules insert, and all that. So that's nice. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into the main meat of potatoes, which is the deck. No, okay, first off, we have a Traxy Warden. This is a 6/6 alien eye. Okay, and it must have conjunctivitis or something. And it costs 6. It's a white and it has flying. And when it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target tapped creature. And you can suspend it for 5 turns, and that you do that by paying 2. I mean, it would be a bit better if actually it's not just a tap creature, it would just exile any creature, and it would be much better if you would just exile X creatures. Yeah, it's not that great. It's a spot removal, but it's not as great. Yeah, I don't think that's a great start. Let's just leave it like that. Hopefully they'll be better, because then we get Wibbly Wobbly Timey-Wimey. I think this is from the episode, if I'm not mistaken, with the DVDs. It's from the Weeping Angels, the first. I have seen that one. Okay, this is a sorcery. It costs 2. You get to time travel, so again, add or remove time counters, and then you get to draw a card. Very, very good. Very synergistic with what we want to do. Then we get Time Beetle. This is a 1/1 that costs 2. It's blue. It's an alien insect. It has Skulk. This creature cannot be blocked by creatures with power greater than this, so that's great for enabling the first ability of the 10th Doctor. And then you get Parallel Universe. Whenever Time Beetle deals combat damage to a player, you get to time travel. Even better, because it synergizes with the second ability. This is a great card for the deck. Whoa, another big one. Finally, this is a Star Whale. This is an alien whale creature. Costs 8. It's an 8/8. Has flying and vigilance. That's very good. Other creatures you control get Ward 2. Very, very good. And you only suspend it for 2. Yeah, this is much better than the Atraxi Warden for sure. How about we try and divide like the creatures or permanents that you really want to cheat into play, and the other ones that don't, they just synergize with the other parts of the deck. Then we get Sibylline Soothsayer. This is a 3/2 human warlock, costs 3, it's red. It has temporal foresight, so whenever it enters the battlefield, you reveal cards from top of your library until you reveal a non-land card with a mana value 3 or greater. You get to exile that card with 3 times counter on it, so it's a smaller version of the 10th Doctor's ability. If it doesn't have suspend, you get suspend, and then put the rest of the reveal cards on the bottom of your library in random order. I like this. This is very good, very synergistic with the Doctor and what it wants to do. Next up, we have Jadoon Enforcers. This is an 8/8 that costs 7, and this is a Boros, so that's nice. And it's a creature alien Rhino Soldier. Has trample, so that's good, and no more than one creature can attack each combat. So it's kind of like a moat, and it has suspend 6, and you can suspend it for 3. Much better than the Star Whale, for sure. And it's a big baddie with trample, so that's even better. So much better than the Atraxi Warden. Definitely good so far. I would say it's nothing groundbreaking. There's no like, oh my god, it enters the battlefield, you wipe the entire battlefield or something like that. It's just okay abilities so far. It's nothing like they're good, but they're not very good. Now we get Psychic Paper. This costs 2. It's an artifact equipment. Whenever it becomes attached to a creature, choose a creature card name and creature type, and then this equipped creature has Ward 1 and it can be blocked, and its name and creature type are the last chosen name and creature type, and you can equip it for 2. I guess this is to transform a creature into something tribal, but realistically what we care about is more that it cannot be blocked. That's what we care about in this instant. Next we have TARDIS. Okay, the TARDIS is here. It's a 2/4 vehicle, and it costs 2 generic, and it has flying, and whenever TARDIS attacks, if you control a Time Lord, again Time Lord is one of the Doctors, the next spell you cast this turn has Cascade, and you may planeswalk away. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't know that I like this because, again, I don't really play Planechase too much. The fact that whenever it attacks you get to Cascade, that's great, but it's okay. It's not the theme of the deck, so it's an okay card, especially if you want to play Planechase. Otherwise I wouldn't keep it. You can create for 2 when it's great, because maybe the smaller ones, you not of course row style, but some of the smaller creatures, some token creatures you want to equip in here, but no crew in here. But yeah, I don't know. Not a huge fan of this card, unfortunately. Sonic Screwdriver costs 3 generic, is an artifact. You add 1 mana of any color by tapping it, so it's a mana rock, and then you can tap 1 generic and tap it to untap another target artifact. Then for 2 generic and tap it, you scry 1. Okay, and then for 3 generic and tap it, target creature can't be blocked this turn. This is, well, of course, the Sonic Screwdriver that does everything. So yeah, definitely very good. Extremely important, this ability. I mean, they're all great abilities. The first one is extremely important for the second ability of the Doctor, and this is very important for the first ability of the Doctor, so absolutely a must keep. Very good one. Then we get a standard one. This is Arcane Signet, of course, with the new art. Beautiful mana rock, and very important this deck. Same for Soul Ring, of course. Very beautiful. Now we get Clock Spinning. This is an instant. It is 1 blue, and you buy back for 3. So you may pay an additional 3 generic as you cast the spell. If you do, you put this card into your hand as it resolves, so you can buy it back, right? So you can cast this as long as you have mana. So again, we want to have Soul Ring and all that stuff to be able to push ourselves to cast this more times. Let's see what it does. Choose a counter on a target permanent or suspended card. Remove that counter from the permanent or put another one. So this is allows you to time walk ability. Very good, very synergistic. I love it so far. And next up we have the Thought Vessel. Of course, this is a beautiful rendition of it. I love the pocket watch here. Very beautiful. Then we get the Mind Stone, another beautiful rendition of it with the Cyberman's head, and this a classic. Very good for this deck though, because we need mana ramping, as we said before. Wow, one of the talismans of creativity. This is a talisman. Very good. You mana ramp and you mana fix yourself. Then we get Lightning Greaves. Amazing. Very good equipment. Of course, everybody knows it by now. To generic, your quick creature gets haste and shroud, so it means they cannot be targeted spells or abilities. Do remember that shroud means your own abilities. It's not hexproof shroud, and you can equip it for 0. So very good, especially because you want to have some creatures saved, right? It's always a great card in any commander deck, to be fair, unless you don't play with creatures, but even then you always do because you always have a commander, so at least you want to protect your commander. Doesn't go in every deck, but it's pretty good. Then we get the Talisman of Conviction. This is Boros Talisman, and it's very good, just like the previous one. Then we get a classic Evolving Wilds with a beautiful art. You can see the different nebulae and the galaxies there, and planets. That's really nice. Then we get Wilfred Mont. That is a 2/4 human soldier that costs 4 as a legendary creatures. Look to the stars. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a time counter on him. Then look at the top X cards of your library where X is the number of time counters on him. And then you may put a non-land permanent card with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield. You put the rest of the bottom of the library in a random order. So again, this is like the Sibylline Soothsayer, but in verse, 3 or less. Can be good for the small creatures. Like we discussed at the beginning, if you have an army of creatures that always attacks and stays in play and still synergizes, this can be really good. On top of that, you have, it's not just for creatures, but it's also for other permanents like mana rocks and all that stuff. So yeah, this is really nice. Of course, this one does not have suspend, so you just get to play the card. So you just not even play, you just put it onto the battlefield. So that's even stronger. I really like this card. Very nice. Everybody Lives. This is one of the best cards of the set. Everybody Lives is an instant that costs 2. It's a white. It's 1 generic on white. All creatures gain hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. Players gain hexproof until the end of turn. Players can't lose life this turn, and players can't lose the game or win the game this turn. So basically, players and creatures all are safe. Everybody's safe. Everybody lives. And this is the Ninth Doctor. Ninth Doctor, from what I remember, the Ninth Doctor is a war-torn Doctor. He just came out of the big war that destroyed the Time Lord's planet, and he was extremely happy that this had happened, that for once everybody lives. So everybody lives Rose. Just this once, everybody lives. That is just amazing. And this is a great card. This is going to be a staple, I would think, like a great instant and a staple in Commanders from now on, especially because if you think about it, let's take a couple of steps back. If you think about Commander in general, there are quite a few Commander decks out there that combo out, and what you want to do is, like, if there are those kind of decks, you just like boop, yeah, there you go, I broke your combo because you can't target anything, everybody's hexproof, you can do your thing infinitely, but you know there's nothing you can do for that one turn. Of course, not every combo is like that. There are combos that place an infinite amount of creatures and stuff like that, so still this is very good, and it's going to become a staple, I believe. Then we have Everything Comes to Dust. This is a really expensive sorcery. It costs 10, it's white, and it has Convoke, so you can help cast it with as many tokens or creatures as you may have. This card can be cheated into play by the 10th Doctor, because the 10th Doctor, what he says is non-land card. Sorceries are non-land, so you can cheat into play, and what it does is exile all creatures except for those that share creature type with a creature that convoke this spell, artifacts, and enchantment. So of course you'll want to be able to do this by convoking it rather than cheating it in, and this is just a big wipe, but the problem is it's so expensive. There are better wipes overall, like there's Farewell. I think there's Farewell, Austere Command. I would rather use that than this, but I get the gist of it, so I see. Then we get 4 Nox. Okay, I do not know this episode, but that is Wilfred that we saw earlier, right? Yep, Wilfred Mott. And this 4 Nox is an enchantment that has Vanishing 4. It costs 3 and it's white. So after 4 turns it vanishes, and then at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase you draw a card. So you get to draw a card for 4 turns extra, and then if you keep it in play then you just keep drawing cards. This is very nice, very synergistic. Yeah, very nice. And I think this looks like a very sad episode. I think maybe this is I think 4 Nox is the name of the episode, and this is maybe where the 10th Doctor dies. So yeah, I wish I knew a bit more about that. Unfortunately, you can't really catch up on all the Doctor Who episodes because it's quite big, and this is also the first, if I'm not mistaken, enchantment that we've seen so far. So very interesting, very good way to keep drawing. Of course, blue has better ways to keep drawing, especially because Ristic Study and Mystic Memoir, but very nice, I like. Okay, next up we have the Pandorica. This is a 3 generic, no, sorry, This is a 3 mana legendary artifact, and you may choose not to untap this card during the untap step. For 2, with 1 generic and 1 white, you tap it, untap target non-land permanent, then it phases out. It can't phase in for as long as this remains tapped, and then when it becomes untapped or leaves the battlefield, that permanent phases in, activate only as a sorcery. So this is a very targeted removal, right? And the problem is, if I'm reading it correctly, it means that as long as it stays tapped, that permanent, which is any non-land permanent, which is great, is phased out. So it's a 1-for-1, because when you untap it, as soon as you untap it, then that permanent comes back into play, phased in. It's a decent removal for sure. I will give it that. It's an okay removal. There are better removals, I would say, out there, especially for spot target removal. Some that are just spells that just do the thing, and so long as they're not countered, they're fine. This one can easily be removed because it doesn't have indestructible and it's an artifact. But anyway, we have the Wedding of River Song. This is a 3 mana sorcery. It's white. You draw 2 cards when you make exile a non-land card from your hand with a number of 10 counters on it equal to its mana value. And then target opponent does the same. Cards exiled this way don't have suspend, gain suspend, and you get to time travel. Okay, so basically you get to cheat one of those big cards, which, by the way, there haven't been a lot. I like to point out, just looking back, the only other big card that you want to cheat into play maybe is Everything Comes to Dust, but not really. So yeah, okay. But anyway, yeah, you get to do one of those big cards, you get to cheat into play and have an amazing deck with that. But yeah, it's not bad. Definitely not bad. For those cards that you've managed to draw and you want to suspend, you can definitely cheat them into play quicker. Then we get Adipose Offspring, which is the one that creates the cute aliens. It's a 2/2 that costs 4. Creature alien has emerged by paying 6, and it's a white creature. You may cast a spell by sacrificing a creature and paying the emerge cost reduced by that creature's mana value. So if you have a creature that costs 4, you can sack that creature, and then you can emerge for this cost minus however much mana that creature's cost was. And then when Adipose Offspring enters the battlefield, you get to create a 2/2 white alien creature token. Token generation is kind of meh here. I mean, it's okay. Yeah, you can keep attacking, but anyway, well, let's see what it does afterwards. And if the emerge cost was paid instead, you create X of those tokens, where X is a sacrificed creature's toughness. Yeah, this is something I wouldn't want in the deck. It's not very synergistic. This is not a tokens deck. You want to be able to put those great cards into play. Now, it's great that you can activate the ability of keep attacking with this, because, you know, tokens are kind of throwaways. You can crew them into the TARDIS and all that, but there are better cards, and that just doesn't really float my boat as much. Next up, we have Astrid Peth, and this is a 2/2 legendary creature human that costs 2. It's white, and whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you get to create a food token, so another token generation. And then for Brand New Sky, whenever you sacrifice a clue or food, this creature explores. So you reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land, otherwise you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and put that card back or into your graveyard. So it's good that you can filter through the top of your deck for the 10th Doctor's first ability, but the clue or food is kind of meh, because to be able to do that ability constantly, you need to have a lot of clue tokens, and so far this is the first one I see, so meh, I don't know. Maybe there's some other stuff that synergizes with 2 creatures that we just saw. It's kind of meh, but we'll see. Kraken Time. It costs 4 as an enchantment and is vanishing 3. Whenever in Kraken Time enters the battlefield, and at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, exile target creature an opponent controls until Kraken Time leaves the battlefield. So this is a prison that stays in play for as many vanishing counters turns as it has. Then the creature comes back into play. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of prison effects. For any of the long-time viewers here might know that by now. And yeah, it'd be great if you can reliably time walk, but time walking costs 7, and there are a couple of cards that allow you to time walk a bit more. more. For example, claw spinning, but it's a prison effect. Okay, then we have the first saga enchantment, The Girl in the Fireplace. So this costs 3 and it has 3 chapters. The first one says that you get to create a 1/1 human noble creature token with vanishing 3. This is the token that we saw earlier. That prevents all damage that we dealt to this creature. So this is very good to enable the 10th Doctor, the first ability. And if you can keep that into play constantly, then that's what will help you, because you just attack with that one creature and then you put huge creatures in play and then, well, it's GG. Then on the second step, you get to create a 2/2 horse white creature token. So that's the one that gives horsemanship to all doctors that you control, which is really, really good, allowing your doctors to become, well, very, very unstoppable, because there are not a lot of horsemanship cards anymore. This is not Portal. And then for the third step, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player this turn, you get to time travel. That's really nice. Yeah, this is a very, very, very good enchantment saga and very, very synergistic. Next up, we get Martha Jones. It's a 3/2 human cleric that costs 3. It is a legendary creature, and it has Woman Who Walked the Earth. When Martha Jones enters the battlefield, you get to investigate. And for those who don't know, you get to create a clue that allows you to draw. So again, clue token here is Astrid that can synergize with this. It is a Doctor's Companion. When you sacrifice a clue, Martha Jones and up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn. So I guess that this is kind of like the synergy that they were going for, but again, meh. This is not how I would build the deck necessarily. Now we get the Nanogene conversion with Are You My Mommy? A sorcery costs 4 and it's blue. Choose target creature you control. Each other creature becomes a copy of that creature until the end of turn, except it isn't legendary. It's good if you have, like I said, some dummy creatures, like some token creatures. I guess you could turn every other creature in that, but it's also your creatures. It's until the end of turn as well. I'd rather have a wipe. This is not a wipe. I understand that they're going thematic here, but it's not a good card in my opinion for what it's trying to achieve. And then we get Flesh Duplicate. This is a shapeshifter rebel. It's a 0/0 that costs 2 blue. You may have this become a clone of any creature on the battlefield, except it has vanishing 3 if that creature does not have vanishing. So you want to keep this in play for as long as possible. It becomes a big clone if you use it correctly, or a very, very important clone. Then we get the 11th Hour. This costs 4. It's an enchantment saga. It's blue. It has 3 chapters. In the first one, you search your library for a doctor card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Very, very good, as there are 2 more doctors in here. Then you get to create on the second chapter a food token with and a 1/1 white human creature token with the doctor spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Very, very good. Overall, you want to keep that one alive. Then for the third one, you create a token that's a copy of target creature, except it's a legendary alien named Prisoner Zero. Very interesting. Very, very good sagas. Very, very good sagas. That's all I can say. It's everything does something on each turn, and that's just value. Then we get all of history all at once. Cost 4, and it's a sorcery that allows you to time travel once, and then you can storm it. So for however many spells you play before this, you get to copy it. Really, really good if you can do this reliably. Casting also is enabled by the suspend, because when the suspend runs out, you get to cast it. So that's really, really good. You can keep this in a turn where you have like 3 or 4 things coming into play, maybe because you've accelerated them or something like that, all to the same amount, and you time it correctly, and then you get to time travel all at once. And yeah, that's really, really good. I like the synergy of this. I wish it was a little bit cheaper, but I understand that it's very OP in this deck. Then we get Donna Noble. This is a 2/4 legendary creature human, cost 4, it's red, has soulbound. You may pair this creature with another unpaired creature whenever this enters the battlefield. Can be any creature. They remain paired for as long as you control both of them. So any creature on your side would be the best ideal thing. Whenever Donna or a creature that is paired with is dealt damage, then Donna deals that much damage to target opponent, and it's a Doctor's Companion. So basically it's to keep the Doctor or something aside as a kind of like deterrent, because if you deal damage to it, well, I'm gonna burn you for that damage. It's okay. It's not bad. It's okay. And then we get Amy Pond, another red creature. Is a 2/2 legendary creature human, costs 3. Partner with Rory Williams. So whenever this creature enters the battlefield, target player may put Rory Williams into their hand from the library, then shuffle. And then whenever Amy Pond deals combat damage to a player, you choose a suspended card from you own and remove that many counters from it. This is insane in this deck. That part is insane. Even if you don't partner, I don't know how good the partner is going to be. That's insane. And it's also a doctor's companion, so that's amazing. Ooh, ecstatic beauty. This scene is very moving. You have Bill Nye, and that's playing the curator of the Van Gogh Museum, if I'm not mistaken, in Amsterdam. But anyway, it's just one beautiful scene. You can probably find it on YouTube somewhere, because this is Van Gogh. Anyway, you get ecstatic beauty. This is a sorcery, cost 3. It's red. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play those cards until the end of turn, and then you put 4 times counter on each of those cards that has suspend. Okay, so basically, if it's a suspend card, which by the way, I would like to point out, we're getting through the end of like half of the deck. Well, end, because it's going to be land, and there are not that many suspend cards. Of course, you can suspend everything else that's not a land, but there are cards that you don't want to suspend because you want to keep your cards up your sleeve. You want to not plan out everything in front of your opponents. So this is not how I would have built the deck so far, and I don't know that this is a great thing. Anyway, very good card. You can suspend it for 1 red, and it's 4, and then this allows you to play around the fact that, hey, okay, I don't have anything right now, but maybe in 2 or 3 turns, because I know what's going to happen, I can play it here, so I'm just going to suspend it, and then when the clock strikes 4, then I can just do all that. So very good synergy so far. Then we have RMS Titanic. This is a 7/1 vehicle that costs 4, and it has flying and trample. Okay, and when it deals combat damage to a player, sacrificing it, then create that many treasure tokens. But then the damage that you deal, you have to sack, and you get that many treasure tokens. This synergizes really well with the 10th Doctor. Only crew 3, not bad. I like it. It's a good way to get a lot because it has flying and trample, but especially because it has flying, a lot of good treasure tokens to then do the things that we discussed. So definitely much better than the TARDIS, in my opinion, for what we are requiring here. Then we have here Coward and Killer. This is a split card. Both sides are sorceries, and they're both red. The Coward costs 2. Target creature can't block this turn and becomes a coward in addition to its other types until the end of turn. Okay, and then you get to time travel, and then that's good, by the way. Now let's see what Coward does. And then when you spend 4, Killer deals 3 damage to target creature and each other creature that shares a creature type with it. Okay, that's not bad. This is a wipe for tribals, especially smaller tribals, so that's really strong. This is good synergy for your deck. So overall, very good. I like it. Next up, we have the Parting of the Ways, Bad Wolf here, and it costs 6. Wow, this is an expensive saga. It's an enchantment, has 3 chapters, and in the first chapter, you exile the top 5 cards of your library. For each non-land card exiled this way, you put a number of 10 counters on that card equal to its mana value if it doesn't have suspend against suspend. This is a bit annoying. I wish it was the 10th Doctor's ability, because, well, look here, if you have like 8 or 7, that's really annoying. If you have 2 or 3, it's still the same thing. You could play them in 2 turns, but you get to exile 5 and play 5 cards basically all at once. So I don't know that it balances out so much, but it's okay. And you get to time travel, then time travel again, so then it kind of balances out. That's very good. And then for each opponent, you destroy up to 1 target artifact that player control. It's okay. I mean, that part is really annoying, Commander, in general, but yeah, it's not bad. I think the other ones are a bit stronger because, yeah, you can fast forward 2 times. Yeah, for the cost, if it was like 2 or 3, yeah, I would say, wow, it's really good, but otherwise, not the greatest. Next up, we have the 9th Doctor. Okay, we get to see another one of the Doctors. This is a 2/4 Time Lord Doctor. It is it, and only costs 3, and it has haste. And into the TARDIS, whenever the 9th Doctor becomes untapped during your untap step, so only during your untap step, you can't force this, you get an additional upkeep step after this. So you get 2 upkeeps, then means that the triggers for the time token removals trigger twice. Same thing for vanishing and all that. So that's not bad. That's actually really good. It's unfortunate you can't force it. You can only do it once once, but it's great. There are other cards that allow you to get more upkeeps, and that's definitely the kind of cards that you want to pair with the 10th Doctor, because, well, yeah, if you get like 3 or 4 upkeeps, then you just speed up some insanely good creatures. So it's good to see this. This is something I was hoping to see. Then we get Sally Sparrow from the Weeping Angels episode. This is a 2/3 human detective. It costs 4, and it is Azorius, and you may cast creature spells as though they had flash, and then whenever one or more other creatures you control leaves the battlefield, you get to investigate. This ability triggers only once each turn. I mean, I understand the theme, what they're going for sure, but this does not synergize with the 10th Doctor. It's great to be able to flash in any creature, always, but this is not the synergy that we want with this deck. Next up, we get Jenny, Generated Anomaly. Costs 4. Ouroboros is a 2/3 legendary creature, Time Lord Soldier. Has double strike, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it explores. Wow, this is very, very good. Because of that first ability, want to be constantly attacking. This is definitely something that's key. Then we get Rory Williams. Okay, so Amy Pond's partner. It's a 3/3 human soldier. It costs Azorius, and it has first strike and lifelink, so that's very good for the first part of the 10th Doctor. Then it has the Last Centurion. Of course, partner with Amy Pond means that whenever you cast it, you can go and search for Amy Pond and put her in your hand. And then for the Last Centurion, whenever you cast this spell from anywhere other than an exile, the suspend card does not work here because, well, when you suspend, it's actually you are exiling it. So whenever you cast it by hand, basically, exile it with 3 times counter on it, so it becomes suspended, and you can suspend and then investigate. So it allows you to, basically, if you cast it by hand, you have to wait 3 turns to be able to actually play with it. I mean, then you can go fetch Amy Pond, but man. Then we got the 11th Doctor. This is a 3/2 Time Lord Doctor, and it's Azorius. It costs 3, so that's cheaper. I wish the 10th Doctor was there as well. First ability is I Am Talking. Whenever the 11th Doctor deals combat damage to a player, so again, first ability, probably, you may exile a card from your hand with a number of time counters equal to its mana value. If it does not have suspend, it gains suspend. So very, very good synergy with the first one. And then for 2 generic, you don't have to tap it. Target creature with power 3 or less cannot be blocked this turn. So allowing you to do this as many times as you want. And now I see maybe why you'll want to use some of the smaller creatures, but I still don't think you should. And it can just pump itself. Rose Tyler. You can pump the 10th Doctor. I think the other Doctor as well, if I'm not mistaken. The 9th one, yeah. So you still have a lot of creatures, so you don't necessarily need those tokens. Very, very, very good, very synergistic. Then we get the War Doctor, which is a Time Lord Doctor, and it's a 3/5 legendary creature for 4 with Wars. Whenever one or more other permanents phase out, whenever one or more other cards are put into exile from anywhere, again, 10th Doctor or any of the suspend, put a time counter on him, and whenever it attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of 10 counters to any target. That is really good. You just burn for, I don't know, 5, 6. That's really, really good for any target, even a player. If a creature dealt damage this way, will die this turn instead. Very, very, very good. Regeneration's Restored. So it vanishes after 12 turns. It's an enchantment. It costs Azorius, and whenever one or more time counters are removed from it, you scry 1 and gain a life. Then if it has no more time counters on it, exile it, and you get an extra turn after this one. So this all hinges on how you build your deck. This can be extremely, extremely good if you have ways to ramp into this ability, a lot of them, which here we have only seen a couple of mana rocks, and that's about it. Realistically, every time you time walk with any of the other abilities that we've seen, if you've built it properly, you can definitely use this, like, I don't know, 3-4 times accelerated, right? So it's only going to take 3 or 4 turns to be able to do that. And in 3-4 turns to be able to get an extra turn, and you still scry and gain a life, and the scrying allows you to, well, choose what you keep on top and not. That can be really powerful in the deck. But otherwise, and as it stands right here, right now, it's kind of an okay card. So you have to build a deck a bit better for this to be significantly strong. That's just my opinion, of course. Then we have Idris, Soul of the TARDIS. This is a 3/3 human incarnation that costs 3. It's it and has Vanity vanishing 3, so you want to keep it into play maybe. It has imprint, so when it enters the battlefield, you exile another artifact you control until it leaves the battlefield. This card gains all activated triggered abilities of the exiled card and gets +X/+X, where X is the exiled card's mana value. Yeah, it's not bad. You have to exile another artifact, and it gets +X/+X equals to its mana value, and basically you still have the artifact, and no matter what happens, it's just you upgrade the artifact and it becomes a creature on top of that. That's basically it. Has vanishing 3. You definitely need better artifacts to be able to play to this, but again, there are better, stronger artifacts in Magic the Gathering, so if you play it right, if you build your deck right, this could be a great card. If not, no so much. Now we have the Face of Bow. This is a Jeskai and costs 4. It's a 0/4 alien advisor. You tap it, you may cast a spell with suspend from your hand. Okay, so any spell that has suspend from your hand, meaning that if you have some suspend cards, there are a couple of ways to, well, if they're in your hand, to cast them still. If you do, pay its suspended cost rather than its mana cost, you activate only as a sorcery. That's insane because of course you have huge cards that only cost this much, or you know, yes, this is just amazing. This is insanely good. Then we get Run for Your Life. This cost is it, and it's an instant. 1 or 2 target creatures each gain haste until the end of the turn. They can't be blocked this turn except for right creatures with haste. That's okay for the first one, and then you can escape it. So exile 4 cards from graveyard and pay the escape cost to cast it again. Meh. It's okay. It's okay for the first ability, but it's, you know, there's definitely better stuff, better instance. And then we get the Day of the Doctor. This is a 4-chapter saga. It costs 5 and is Boros. You exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary card. Okay, and you do this for the first 3 steps. So, well, a lot of legendaries so far. Mainly, hopefully, the Doctors, I would reckon. And then you may play that card for as long as this enchantment remains in the battlefield. Put the rest of those exiled cards on the bottom of the library in any random order. You want to play this, of course, when you have enough mana and mana of different types to be able to cast most of your legendary creatures. And then for chapter 4, choose up to 3 Doctors. You may exile all other creatures you control, and if you do, this card deals 13 damage to you. So it's a very expensive white. First ability could be very good, but realistically it's okay. It's not a bad one. There are better sagas in this. Next up, we have 2 instant, a split instant. We have Gallifrey Falls and No More, and this is a Boros. So on the left side, we have the red one, which costs 6. It's an instant, deals 4 damage to each creature. If a creature dealt damage this way, would die this turn. You exile it instead. And then on the No More side, another instant, but this is white. It costs 3. Any number of target creatures you control phase out, and you can fuse it together. You may cast one or both halves of this card from your hand. Realistically, you want to cast maybe this one first and then that. And yeah, it's a very expensive board wipe that, well, yeah, because dealing 4 damage for 6 is fairly expensive. And on top of that, you need to spend 9 to be able to keep your creatures protected. So yeah, it's okay. It's not great. It's okay, but it's an instant speed, so why not? Dinosaurs on a spaceship. Finally, we see some more of those targets that we wanted to see. This is a 7/7 that costs 6 for 4 generic, and Boros has Vigilance and Trample, and other dinosaurs you control get +1/+1 and have Vigilance and Trample. Okay, then you suspend it for 4 by paying 5, and whenever a time counter is removed from dinosaurs on a spaceship while it's exiled, so again with that, you get to create a 2/2 red and white dinosaur creature token with flying and haste. That's really good. The flying is very good. Yeah, it's a decent card. It's very tricky. You want to have it suspended, and you actually want to have it suspended for the longest duration if possible, to then create those 2/2 flyers, to then when this one comes into play and cast, then those are efficient. It's nice. It's a fun target. There are much stronger creatures in Magic the Gathering though, but it's a fun target. Next, we have Kate Stewart. This is a 3/3 human scientist. Costs 4 for 1 generic and Jeskai, and whenever you put 1 or more 10 counters on a permanent you control, you create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So that's really good because you get to synergize with, well, the Doctor synergizes with Kate, and Kate synergizes with the Doctor. And then whenever Kate attacks, you may pay 8 generic, so again, you need that amount of mana. If you do attacking creatures get +X+S till the end of turn, rise the number of 10 counters amongst permanent you control. Yeah, I don't know, the second part is very expensive for what it's trying to do. Rotating Fireplace is an artifact. It costs 3 generic, and whenever it enters the battlefield, it comes so tap with a 10 counter on it, and then you can tap, add 1 generic mana equal to the number of 10 counters equals on Rotating Fireplace. That's really, really good. Finally some good ramp. We definitely sorely needed it, but there's only one card that is very good ramp if you don't count the Soul Ring. And then for 4 generic and tap it, Time Travel activate only as a sorcery. So this is an insanely good card, absolutely a must for the 10th Doctor, absolutely good. Then we have the Moment. It's a legendary artifact that costs 2 generic. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put a time counter on the Moment, and then for 2 generic, you tap it. Untap target creature you control. It phases out until the Moment leaves the battlefield, so that's a much better version than the Pandorica, much better. And then for 3 generic, you tap it, you destroy each non-land permanent with a mana value less than or equal to the number of time counters on it, then sacrifice the Moment as activated only as sorcery. So this is an Oblivion Stone basically upgraded. I really love this. This is a great card, much better than that Pandorica. And then we get Trenzalore Clock Tower. This is a legendary land, and you can tap it for 1 blue and put a time counter on this card, and then for 1 generic 1 blue, you tap it, remove 12 time counters from this and exile it. You shuffle your graveyard and hand into your library, then draw 7 cards and activate only if you control a Time Lord. This basically allows you to time twist, kind of. Yeah, I don't know about that. It could be cool, but at the same time, you know, by turn 12, let's say you get lucky, you get this and you get it in the opening hand, and then you build up your Doctor. Let's say by turn 8, you can time twist. It's not, it's okay. It's not groundbreaking. Let's just leave it at that. Then we get Grasp of Fate. This is a known enchantment that whenever it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, you exile up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls, and until this leaves the battlefield. Of course, this is a prison effect, and as usual, I say no, unfortunately. It does allow you to exile a few things at once, but at the same time, as soon as that's removed, they all come back crashing into play. And if you play Commander, you know that there are a lot of enchantment removal. Next up, well, that's one of them. There's Farewell, one of the great cards added to this deck. It costs 6, but you choose 1 or more, and you get to target all specific artifact, creatures, enchantments, or graveyards, and you exile any of those. Really strong card, very strong card, very good card. It's gone up in price significantly, so it's nice to see this reprinted. I love that, and I play that in all my Commander decks that can play it. Out of Time. This is an enchantment, and it costs 3 with double white pip. When Out of Time enters the battlefield, untap all creatures, then those creatures phase out until Out of Time leaves the battlefield. Okay, so you untap all creatures and do that. Then put a time counter on this for each creature that phase this way, and then it vanishes. Again, a prison effect, but this one can actually be very good because, yes, of course, it can be easily removed, but this allows you to basically board wipe. You choose how long you want to keep this for, right? So with the 10th Doctor, it's still a prison effect. It's not very good. It's just good, but it's a better prison effect than a Grasp of Fate. That's for me anyway, in this kind of deck, the way that I would build it. Next up, we have the Wedding Ring. This is an artifact, costs 4 for 2 generic and 2 white pips. We've seen this card before ages ago. When the Wedding Ring enters the battlefield, target opponent creates a token that's a copy of it. So you choose the opponent, and remember, when you suspend a card like this one, it is counted as cast when it stops being suspended. Whenever an opponent controls an artifact named the Wedding Ring draws a card. Whenever they draw a card, you draw a card, and whenever they gain life, you go gain life, basically. Very nice theme. I love this theme, and I like this artifact quite a lot, but I think there are much stronger artifacts, and it's very situational because you need to find that opponent. Like, it's great to have as a tool set, one of course, that the Commander deck, but that you can just go and fetch, right, with a tutor and be like, okay, there's somebody that's going to gain infinite life or an insane amount of life, or they're going to draw so many cards. I want to do the same and do that. Otherwise, it's okay. It's okay. Then you can clone the Wedding Ring, but this is not the kind of deck for that, right? So what you want to do is remove this, unfortunately, unfortunately, even though it's it's a very good artifact overall, you play it somewhere else. Then we have Inspiring Refrain. It costs 6. It has 2 blue pips and it's a blue card. It has sorcery, draw 2 cards, exile Inspiring Refrain with 3 times counter on it, okay? And then you can suspend it for 3, so you get to do this again. Okay, it's okay. I'd rather, there are better cards. Oh, as foretold, and this is a great enchantment. It's a classic. It costs 3. It's a blue card, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to put a 10 counter on as foretold, which is insanely good with the whole synergy of the deck. And then once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a spell, and you may cast mana value X or less, where X is the number of 10 counters as foretold, and this can skyrocket really good. Of course, Atraxa players know this, so any counter kind of deck that can grow counters knows this card, how insane it can be. So in this deck, absolutely wonderful. Okay, next up we have Fractured Identity. It costs 5. It's a sorcery. Exile target non-land permanent. Each player other than its controller creates a token that's a copy of it. Okay, it costs 5 sorcery. It's okay, you're giving advantage to your opponents, and I don't really like that, unfortunately. It's good though, but it's not great. So definitely there are better wipes and just overall spot removals that don't advantage your opponents that much. Yes, it advantages you, but I don't like giving advantages to my opponents. And then we get Port Town as a land, and we've seen this quite a few times. It's interesting and it's very beautiful, very beautiful, and it looks like Venice a little bit. Then we have the Temple of Triumph, of course, making a return. Exotic Orchard, of course. Temple of Enlightenment, and the art is very beautiful. We have the Prairie Stream, that's nice. Of course, if you play a lot of basic lands. Irrigated Farmland, and Deserted Beach, of course, that's a very good card. And then we have the Glacial Fortress. That's very nice that they reprinted these land cycles in here. The Sky Cloud and Spans, Temple of Epiphany, Frostboil Snarl, Thespian Stage. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So this is a known land, especially in Pioneer. Tap to add 1 generic, and then for 2 and tap it becomes a copy of target land, except it has this ability, so you can always choose it to become something else. Of course, you usually do this with Lotus Field, so I don't know what land you'll want to copy here. So far, there are some decent lands, but they're more the normal kind of lands that you'll see in this kind of deck. That's a precon. Then we have Fury Crown Snarl. Then we have the War Room. Okay, so that's nice. Tap, add 1 generic, and tap 3 and tap it. You pay life equal to the number of colors of your commander's color identity, which by the way is 2, and you draw a card, so it allows you to keep drawing cards. Sunbay Canyon, of course, very nice card to have here. Very nice. Sundown Pass, very good. Storm card for Coast, nice. I think actually the land base in this deck is a bit better than your usual land base, I'll give it that. Oh, Fiery Islet as well. Wow, yeah, definitely better than the usual land base. It's just like a half a step above, like even a step, because you get the Glacial Fortress, so those lands are the check lands are very good. And then you get the Command Tower, which they are all themed with the specific doctor, so that's really nice. And we get Path of Ancestry, of course, Temple of the False God, of course, and it's actually pretty okay in this deck, but it's just I wish they'd done better. You get the Mirror Landscape, Mystic Monastery, Thriving Bluff, okay. But then we get the Ominous Cemetery, of course, with the Weeping Angel. Tap to add 1 generic, and 5 and tap. You exile this card, and target creature owner shuffles it into their library. So basically, the Weeping Angel has come and whisked it away somewhere else. Not bad. It's a spawn removal. There are better, so it's not a bad land. It's a bit expensive for what it's trying to. Oh, Rock's Passage, very good for this commander for the first ability. And then we get grand total of 3 plains, 3 islands, and 3 mountains, and they all have the beautiful theme of Doctor Who. So that was it for the single cards overview of this wonderful precon deck. Now let's have an analysis of the deck. As I said initially, I would have expected to have a defense line that allows you to trigger the first part of the first ability. The third part of the ability, you want interactions, and for that you have quite a bit of interactions to remove or add time counters depending on the ability of the cards that are in play. And then you also get the Timey-Wimey, which sorely needs mana ramping. And I'm sorry to say, but this ability is extremely undervalued in deck. You needed more ways to create treasure tokens, and there are so many ways in red to do that I'm a bit flabbergasted that they would put in, tokens interact interactions and stuff like that really don't make any sense into the deck as a whole, but not those ones. So that I'm really annoyed by that. The other part is like you have 4 big suspend targets that you can cheat into play a bit earlier than you would with your suspend, and really this one you want to suspend for as long as possible to a certain degree. So realistically you only have 3 big ones, and you don't have any big creatures or big permanent. Therefore you have a lot of small ones that can come into play on average on turn 3, like after you played it. But then again, the average of this whole spells are 3, like the mana cost is 3, so meh. And yeah, you have some okay mana rocks, but yeah, there's no monolith. Like you could have gone with some other ways to ramp into things, and there are ways to ramp and you haven't used it. The mana base is okay. I'll say that they've done a step up, and definitely it's better. I don't expect them to have just randomly just start putting the Shockland in here out of nowhere, but it would have been nice. Again, when I see this the shock lands and every other land that we saw in here, then I'm gonna be like, yep, you've created a very good mana base for an entry level precon. Otherwise it's just meh. But it's better than the usual. And yeah, you have some removals, and the problem is that some, like most of the removals except for like a couple, are very situational. You go a lot more on removing by enchantments. There are some interesting enchantments. It's a really weird deck. It's trying to do so many things, and just like the other reanimate kind of commanders that have been precon beforehand, what you'll find is that you won't be able to enjoy the full extent of your deck as much as other players can, because you're waiting on doing things, especially the big things that take so long, because you know you're waiting 3, 4, or 5 turns while other players are doing their things. And on top of that, you're showing your hand so much because your opponents know what's coming, right? Because you exile the suspended cards. That's why you want to have a way to accelerate them so much more. I believe that this was a missed opportunity on the precon side. I understand that this might be really a good opportunity on the theme side, right? So the ability to have a very well themed Doctor Who deck, I think the flavor in here is very much alive from what I know of the series. But the problem is that, yeah, from a precon standpoint, is disjointed. It doesn't really do the good things that it really could do as well, because you haven't given it so many tools to then pay off all of that stuff. And yeah, even like the creatures that randomly generate tokens, why? Like there's no reason for it. There's no real reason, because again, in a deck like this, you want to be very themed onto your Doctor Commander. So yeah, let's try and review this. I'm going to say that this is a 6 out of 10. I wish it was more. And of course, if you're just looking to pick up the Doctor, maybe Rose Tyler, just pick up some of the singles that we've said that are really good if you want to build your own deck. If you want, just get some of the good cards. If you're picking up the precon, this is definitely the kind of precon that you will have to invest or have the cards already to upgrade. And yeah, this is something that we want to do no matter what, because it's just above average. And yeah, the commander is great. Rose Tyler, Commander and Rose Tyler are great. It's just that the precon itself is not using it to its full potential. I wasn't expecting them to give me like insanely strong cards, but then again, like these 3 are uncommon. These 3 creatures, the big ones, they're uncommons. They don't have like huge payout, and overall, yeah, it seems a bit disjointed. So that's it for our review of this deck. As usual, thank you for hanging around up until the end if you have, and hopefully this is informing you a little bit better on if you're going to purchase the deck, or if you want to upgrade it, and what cards you could remove and which cards you could keep if you want to synergize with the main commander and general of the deck, or well, companion in this case. Now, as usual, we try and do upgrade guides for these decks. The problem is, due to the upcoming Magic the Gathering schedule and the fact that I was sick, and also the fact that I will soon have to be on holiday, these upgrades might not come soon enough. So I apologize for our usual viewers that are maybe expecting these upgrades to come right away. As I said, I will try and get all these decks reviewed as quickly as I can, and then we'll go from there, because I do have to go on holiday for quite a wee bit. Thankfully, that's the first holiday of the year. Yay! Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. video. I hope Scotty and I have shed some light into this beautiful deck. I really enjoyed the theme of it. It's just, unfortunately, it wasn't executed with the right idea, I believe. Make sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. It does help small channels like ours a lot. And until the next one, we wish you a lovely day, a blessed day. Be good, be kind, and we'll see you next time. Bye!